I Know What You Did Last Summer, directed by Jim Gillespie and based on Lois Duncan's 1973 novel, is often hailed as one of the defining films of the late 1990s slasher resurgence. Released in 1997, this film successfully combines suspense, horror, and teenage drama in a way that not only thrilled audiences, but also helped to reinvigorate the slasher genre after its decline in the early 1990s. It arrived on the heels of Scream from 1996, another Kevin Williamson scripted film, but while it draws inevitable comparisons to its more self-referential predecessor, I Know What You Did Last Summer carves its own unique niche. It balances a darker, more psychological tone while maintaining the signature elements that fans of the genre expect: a vengeful killer, a group of teens harboring a terrible secret, and a chilling atmosphere. The film opens with a familiar yet potent premise. A group of high school graduates, Julie, Jennifer Love Hewitt, Helen, Sarah Michelle Gellar, Barry, Ryan Phillippe, and Ray, Freddie Prinze Jr., are celebrating their last summer together when an impulsive decision leads to a deadly accident. In a panic, they decide to cover up the crime, thinking they've successfully buried the truth. But a year later, their past comes back to haunt them when they receive a mysterious note that reads, "I know what you did last summer." At its core, this is a story about guilt and the ways in which people attempt to outrun the consequences of their actions. As each character grapples with their role in the tragic accident, the film subtly explores the psychological toll of suppressing guilt. Julie's growing paranoia and anxiety are perfectly portrayed by Jennifer Love Hewitt, whose performance anchors the emotional weight of the narrative. Her portrayal of a young woman torn between moral obligation and fear is relatable, making the audience root for her survival. The casting of I Know What You Did Last Summer is one of its strongest assets. Jennifer Love Hewitt, who had already gained fame from her role on Party of Five, delivers a breakout performance as Julie James. Hewitt masterfully balances vulnerability with determination, making her a protagonist who feels authentic and sympathetic. Her chemistry with Freddie Prinze Jr., Ray, is subtle yet palpable, bringing a touch of romance to the otherwise dark proceedings. Sarah Michelle Gellar, who was simultaneously starring in Buffy the Vampire Slayer, shines as Helen Shivers, a former beauty queen trying to reconcile her fading glory with her traumatic experiences. Gellar's portrayal of Helen is multidimensional. She isn't just a shallow pageant queen, but someone deeply affected by the events that unfold. The chase scene through the department store, where Helen desperately tries to escape the killer, stands out as one of the film's most intense and well-executed moments. Ryan Phillippe's portrayal of the hot-headed Barry Cox adds an essential layer of tension to the group dynamic. His brash and aggressive nature makes him unpredictable, and Phillippe brings an energy to the role that contrasts well with the more subdued Ray, played by Freddie Prinze Jr. Ray, on the other hand, is somewhat of an outsider in the group, and Prinze Jr.'s performance reflects that sense of isolation and quiet guilt. Jim Gillespie's direction is slick and efficient, focusing on building suspense through atmosphere rather than relying solely on jump scares or excessive gore. The small coastal fishing town where the film is set becomes a character in itself. Its fog-laden streets, dark alleyways, and eerie isolation create an ominous tone that mirrors the internal turmoil of the protagonists. The cinematography by Dennis Crossan complements this with moody, shadow-filled frames that add a sense of claustrophobia and dread. The sequence in which Julie, Helen, and Ray first receive the threatening letter is particularly well crafted, setting up the tension for the rest of the film. Rather than rushing into the action, Gillespie allows the suspense to simmer, giving the characters and the audience time to contemplate the gravity of their situation. The methodical pacing works to the film's advantage, allowing the horror to unfold in a way that feels natural rather than forced. One of the most iconic aspects of I Know What You Did Last Summer is its central antagonist, the fisherman, Ben Willis. Donning a slicker and wielding a lethal hook, the fisherman became an iconic slasher figure for the late 90s. The use of the fishing gear is not only visually striking, but thematically appropriate, given the film's coastal setting and the nautical undertones of the accident that sets the plot in motion. The fisherman is a silent, relentless force of nature, evoking the dread of a predator who knows his prey's every move. A fun piece of trivia for fans. I Know What You Did Last Summer was filmed in and around Southport, North Carolina, a town that provides the perfect backdrop for the film's blend of picturesque beauty and underlying menace. The contrast between the town's charm and the horror lurking within, it amplifies the film's themes of hidden guilt and terror. Additionally, it's interesting to note that author Lois Duncan, whose novel the film is loosely based on, was not a fan of the adaptation. Duncan's original story was more of a suspense thriller with no supernatural or slasher elements. The film's shift into horror was largely due to Kevin Williamson, who had just come off his success with Scream. He infused the script with a more traditional slasher vibe, which helped the film resonate with younger audiences who were hungry for more horror after Scream had revitalized the genre. Sarah Michelle Gellar and Freddie Prinze Jr. met on set and later married in real life, becoming one of Hollywood's most beloved couples. This adds a sweet, serendipitous layer to the film's legacy. Though some may consider I Know What You Did Last Summer a product of its time, the film's legacy as a cornerstone of 90s horror remains undeniable. Its success led to a sequel, I Still Know What You Did Last Summer, and even sparked a brief reboot series on Amazon in 2021. The film's themes of guilt and the fear of the past catching up with you are timeless, while its blend of suspense, psychological tension, and slasher thrills continues to entertain viewers. Moreover, the film's success helped launch the careers of its young cast, many of whom became major stars in the late 90s and early 2000s. Jennifer Love Hewitt and Sarah Michelle Gellar, in particular, became teen icons, while Freddie Prinze Jr. and Ryan Phillippe enjoyed prominent roles in other films of the era. I Know What You Did Last Summer remains a thoroughly entertaining, atmospheric, and well-executed slasher film that encapsulates the essence of late 1990s horror. Its strong performances, particularly from Jennifer Love Hewitt and Sarah Michelle Gellar, combined with its moody direction and enduring sense of suspense, make it a standout in the genre. While it may not be as self-aware as Scream, it's precisely that sincerity that gives the film its unique charm. It's a nostalgic trip for fans of the era and a solid, well-crafted entry into the slasher canon. For fans of horror, especially those with a soft spot for 90s nostalgia, I Know What You Did Last Summer is a must-watch that still holds up as an effective and engaging thriller.